9 podcasts.
Welcome to AFLW Weekly Round 7. My name is Sarah Burt. I'm joined by the lovely Georgie Parker.
Correct, that's me.
That's you.
Me.
How are you, George?
Yeah, it's good. It's halfway through.
Halfway? That is wild.
I know.
Did you miss me? We're back with the weekly wrap at the halfway point of the season, just to let you know what's happened over the last round of AFLW. It started where we left off, with North Melbourne still sitting at the top of the ladder, still unbeaten, beating the mighty Blues with 53 points at Arden Street. Ash Riddell notching up 44 disposals to knock herself, and Ellie Anderson off the top spot. She's now averaging 37.5 disposals a game this year. It's more than Georgie had in her entire career. And Collingwood gave it a nice shove against the Hawks with a final term blitz. But their 3-3, not enough in the fourth to get the job done, with Hawthorn winning their 5th game of the season and their 4th by less than 10 points. Speaking of last goal blitzers, doesn't get much more blitzy than Adelaide in their win against the Suns. 6 unanswered goals they kicked in the final term to defeat the Suns by 16 points. And it was the usual suspects getting them out of trouble in Eb Marinoff with 32 disposals and a goal, and Anne Hatchard kicking 3. The Crows' crosstown rivals Port had another close one at Alberton, but went down to the Cats by 5 points. Geelong's Michaela Bowen took the perfect 10 coaches' votes with her. 25 disposals and a 1-goal game. Port now, after making a preliminary final last, only have 2 wins to their name. Heading west, and after a rough start to the year, Fremantle had 2 wins on the trot with a point to prove an enormous win over Essendon. 48 points were the eventual damage, with Essendon being kept goalless till the final term. Kiara Bowers, Turbo, was excellent and had 21 tackles to go with her 23 disposals. And Gabby Newton, after finally having a full pre-season, is showing why she was the number 1 draft pick with a goal and 28 touches. Staying west, the Eagles couldn't get the job done. Eden Zanker had an absolute day out, kicking 5 in her team's 51-point win. And now Melbourne have moved 2nd place on the ladder and are becoming one of the teams to beat this year. But the Tigers are still waiting for their first win of the season as they lose to the Saints by 7 points. Ellie McKenzie did all she could with 25 disposals and 2 goals, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking for them this year. And it doesn't get easier this week as they play last year's grand finalists, Brisbane Lions, in Brisbane. Could be a long year for them. And on the Lions, they have had a much-needed win against the Doggies, winning by 25 points, with 6 teams, including the Lions, sitting on 12 points. Every win is going to be integral, as the fight for the finals will start to take shape. So in a year of upsets, we finally got to see what it looks like in a round where the favourites mostly win, until we get to the Battle of the Bridge and the Giants decide to shake things up. In a record crowd at Henson Park, the Orange team won by just 7 points in a tightly fought contest. Zali Goldsworthy, who was labelled a complete midfielder by her coach, was absolutely instrumental in the win with her 31 disposals, 9 tackles and 7 score involvements, and her goal. They've now won 2 on a trot and have a very winnable game against West Coast next week. And that's the round that was. I'm Amelia Fuller.
We continue with the record-breaking new players coming through. So much excitement in the last round. Yeah. Record AFLW crowd at Henson Park, 7,571 people. The footage of that is unreal.
The way that Henson Park's done it, and what I think there's a couple of reasons why. One, the Swans are an iconic club, aren't they, with a really big following, but they're not having to compete with W fans around 10 other clubs. So they go, and particularly that game obviously was against the Giants as well, but it's like one city, cool, let's all go to there. It's a really accessible ground. But says, did that not look unreal on TV? And you compare that to some of the other grounds where it does look sometimes a bit bleak because of, I think, sometimes the way the cameras are set up. They're not made for TV, those grounds, and then less crowds, but that looked awesome, didn't it?
I had FOMO.
I want to sit there with a nice cold bev watching.
Just that hill, it was going off. And one thing that I did want to mention before we jump into our weekly segments is the Sydney Swans last week. They're the first club that I've seen do it so far. We know that there's targets that we have to meet for the AFLW to expand next season. And Sydney came out on their socials and essentially said, if you want AFLW here, this is what you've got to do. And they gave dot points. They said, put your money where your mouth is, become a member. They said, you've got to come to the game, share this on socials because that's how we're growing the game. And it worked.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah, and people want to be there.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. They've also got the nice audience there that want to be at that game, I think. I think that's the type of fans that they want there, and they were all there. And an upset.
I mean,
What the heck?
the Swans they would have thought that they were
What the heck is going
going
on?
to win that.
Right? No.
So they got all their fans there. Actually, there was something, speaking of social media, the Giants their social team walked around the change rooms before the game and said after the game, and said to the Giants girls, say one nice thing about Sydney. And I can't remember who it was, but someone said they bring all their fans here so they can watch us beat them.
I used to do that in the locker room. I used to, when I felt like I was getting a bit picked on for a little bit, I'd say, all right, stop, say something nice to me.
To me, everyone, tell me how good I am.
And I'd go around
Ron Burgundy.
and I'd make a few people say something nice to me. And it took a while because they're like, you bring lollies.
Hair looks nice today.
Anyway, you should try that amongst your friends and family.
There's your hot tip.
I make people do it before they get in my car as well. I lock the car, wind the window down a couple of inches, and you got to say something nice with me before you can get in. We digress
we
off
do.
What is an exciting pod.
Something else, George, that I wanted to mention off the top, Daisy Pearce coached against her former coach, Mick Stanier.
Yeah.
We've been hearing it a lot this week, but it was just master and apprentice, and it's pretty funny to call Daisy Pearce the apprentice. But there's some lovely footage of them having a chat before the game. I imagine that Mick would just be brimming with pride seeing her in that position.
I think so too. And Daisy, she was thrown into this world of spotlight by being Daisy Pearce and given a mic and had never come through, wanting a mic. And she took it with such grace and dignity, how she handled that really tough position of people wanting to not like her for no reason other than that she was a woman in this what's been a man's space for a really long time. And she's now gone, no, I want to coach. And you can see the love that these kids are playing for Daisy. She's inspired a lot of these kids, and you can tell that, and that they're a club that's really playing for their coach. And so I think you can be nothing other than proud if you're coaching what is now a coach. Yeah. You wonder if this is what, Alistair Clarkson's like with all of his little premiership coaches underneath him. And it's finally seeing this now in the women's game. But, I don't know how anyone can dislike anything Daisy Pearce does.
No, or Mick Stanier for that matter.
100%.
Speaking of Mick Stanier's apprentices, we are chatting to Lily Mithen, who, of course, moved from the Demons up to the sunny state of Queensland earlier this year.
God.
So we'll have a big chat to Lil.
I turned their game on at 3/4 time and was like, are my Crows about to lose this? I thought this is, again, another upset. Crows 6-goal last quarter. I turned away for a minute, ordered a beer, came back. I'm like, what? They're now ahead.
Who was pouring the beer?
Wow, it was a Guinness. It takes a while to pour one of them.
You'll split the G properly. Correct. Well, let's get into our for the week, Georgie.
Things that make you go.
Floating fixture during men's grand final week. Let's have a listen to what footy journalist Lauren Wood said during the week.
I spoke to a number of clubs this week and gained the understanding that it actually has been raised by at least one club in particular to have the men's grand final weekend fixture floating for the AFLW. So this all sits around the one club mentality that we know we hear a lot about between the men's and the women's program. Now, obviously, we saw it with Brisbane last year. Now we're seeing it with Brisbane again. So they have copped it 2 years running where the men's grand final is Saturday. They are scheduled to play on Sunday in Brisbane. So essentially can't get to the game, can't, enjoy the festivities, they hope. Obviously, you hope it's Geelong. But obviously have to watch it on television and get back to Brisbane. So essentially the premise of it is that you would have the floating fixture that those teams would potentially play on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, so obviously the footy floating fixture has been a thing, and it really probably only affects the two clubs, and one of those clubs is Geelong. So on the same program, let's listen to what the women's captain, Meg McDonald, had to say as well about being this one club mentality.
Yes, I must say this, as you said off the top, Kel, this is an incredibly exciting week for our football club, and part of that is the fact that we've been, given the Thursday night fixture for a number of years in a row, and all of us will speak to 2022 as one of the most fantastic experiences in football. We played on the Thursday night. We had one of the most significant wins in our AFLW history, and then we went on and enjoyed being at the game and the festivities that followed when the men won their own grand final. So it's disappointing for Brisbane that this has happened twice in a row. And the competitor in me would say, don't worry about it, girls, you don't want to be there on Saturday because I'll back the Cats in. But I think with enough communication and the understanding that it's for the greater good of those clubs that are in there and the competition as a whole, I'm sure there'd be openness to it.
So listening to what Meg has said there, Georgie, it's interesting that it's two clubs that have experienced this before. As Meg said, Geelong are really lucky. They were in 2022 and they are this week. I don't know if it's luck, it's smart, I would say, by the league. They play on Thursday night. Then the girls can get around with the rest of the club. They're not isolated from the rest of the club and the fans, and they can celebrate something that's frustrating, I imagine, for the Lions is, and it's something that Lauren also mentioned in her article this week, is if the Brisbane Lions win, not only are the men's and women's sides in different states, but the homecoming celebration, if they come home and bring the cup back to Springfield, there's a ticketed event on that day. It is the women's game, and the usual congregation and big celebration of the whole club together of the men winning their grand final. It's not going to happen the way it normally does because the women are playing. I mean, they might get a great crowd, but the traditional celebration of what people are after, that it's not going to be that, and it sort of takes away from, I would say, both leagues.
Yeah, and I think what these clubs want, that one club mentality. You want to be able to also watch them. We want the men watching our women and being proud when they're winning. We want the women watching the men. And there's nothing bigger than a grand final win. And I think of this in, like other sports or state league levels where it's, the Colts playing, then it's the reserves, then it's the league playing, and they're all there watching. You kind of want similar with this. And so that floating fixture, I mean, it's hard, and there'll be people being like, well, you can't plan for that. Of course you can't plan. You can't plan for a grand final either. But I guess we're trying to create something that's bigger than just that one round for the women.
And to some degree you can plan for it because that there are going to be two teams in the grand final. So at some point we're going
to know. Yes, exactly. And it is just a shame that it still seems so separate. Yeah. And then we hate comparing. We've said that the NRLW has their pre-game entertainment before their halftime entertainment is the women. Showcase something really exciting and maybe have that. It could be just one of the teams playing before. Obviously, you don't know if it's who it's going to be, so you can't pre-plan the same women's matchup before, and that might not even be a good game. But you could have one of the teams in there.
Well, try telling me that if we didn't have the Kangaroos women's side playing before the men's grand final, that we wouldn't get new viewers of the game. Exactly.
So it's something that could be spoken about. And, we speak about to Lily Mithen about how, there was a game at Punt Road before. Like, I think making, piggybacking off of this really excitable group of people who are going to not just be at that game, but around the venue. There's thousands and thousands of people who don't have tickets to the game because it's ludicrously expensive. So there are thousands of people that just go and check it out. Yeah. Could they be checking out a women's game while they're around there?
How many people go to the grand final every year that don't go for one of the teams playing in the grand final? They go because they love the vibe, they love footy. So let's harness the people that just want to be involved in the good vibes, because they're the people that we want with AFLW.
Totally. It's just a shame that the women, and I think it's not even necessarily about the women playing before or anything like that, but the Brisbane Lion women will not be able to celebrate with the Brisbane Lion men if they win because they're in separate states.
Yeah.
And that's a massive
They'll
shame.
miss out on a big moment in their club.
Exactly. I think that's a massive shame. Back-to-back could be premierships.
Yep.
And they're not there to celebrate because they're interstate playing a game, which could have been moved around differently.
Yeah. And just lastly on that, we also know that a lot of the staff are still shared between the men's and the women's programs. You can't tell me that all of the staff aren't being allocated to the men's grand final.
Which they
what
should
happens
be.
for the women? Yeah,
Which they
of
should
course
be.
they should be.
Of course they should be.
But it's the fixturing that means that the women miss out when, if it had been fixtured differently, maybe both sides would have the medical, coaching, physio support that they need.
And I do question if it was a women's grand final, and it was a men's round match, who's winning out there? Probably the same team.
Probably.
That's why I'm picky, because I'm just too damn busy. Turn the L's into
Okay,
W's.
Georgie, let's get into our L's and W's for the week. You've got a big W for me.
Big W and 100 gamers.
Woohoo!
We're finally there, and we've got two of them, Ed Marinoff and Ali Anderson. So two real trailblazers. And to get to 100 games in the men, well, it takes half the amount of time, doesn't it? But it takes for the women, it's equivalent to 200. So Ed Marinoff spoke before the season, if she gets to 100 games this year, she got drafted the same year as Hugh McCluggage, who did his 200th game celebrations this year. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how long it's taking these girls to do it. It takes so much determination, takes a lot of luck, very few injuries or your injuries at the right time. It makes playing a lot of finals for these girls, which these girls have done.
Going to be pretty much picked every single week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's form, it's luck, and so there's a whole breadth of things that comes into the 100 games for the women, which is 200 games for the men. But it made me question and think, though, which could have been a for this week. When do women get live memberships? Because you know that when it's men, 300 games, automatic live membership into the AFL. Still maybe 50 games to go for these guys, and who knows if they'll get there. But when is that? Because I'd like that to not be 300 games personally.
That is so true.
Isn't it crazy? And there's so many things that the women are just having to navigate what fits into their game at the moment. And so, when we get a full season, maybe it will then push back out. But right now, I don't think it needs to be even 200 games. That's 20 years of service.
Exactly.
20
10 seasons, 20 years. Exactly.
Who's do
right.
that? 15 years of service. So does that mean another 50 games maybe? I don't know. But I'd like a number to it, because I think being able to hit a clear number rather than having something that's quite arbitrary, like you hit that, but maybe not that. Or I'd like a number.
Yeah.
I'd like you to go, you've hit that. You're a life member.
Yeah.
But huge for these two women. Huge.
Massive.
And who does it first? I haven't seen who plays first that week, but couldn't happen to two better players.
No. And advocates for the game.
Oh, exact same time.
There you go.
2:35 on Sunday. Two players running through the banner with 100 games. Crazy.
It's going to be a really beautiful
Very special.
thing.
Really
And
special.
I interviewed Ali on Sunday after their game against the Doggies and asked her about it. She is very humble, Ali Anderson. They all are. But she just said it's obviously an incredibly special thing for her. But she also said it's about the team, and we know for a team like the Lions, and as well for Ed Marinoff at the Crows, these two players have been mainstays in the club that they're celebrating these 100 games at too. So not only are they celebrating this huge history-making milestone, but one club players, people that have shown how to stick it out. These two players essentially could have been on any list they wanted to.
Pick and choose. And probably a testament to the clubs. A real testament not just to the players who's sticking fat. It's pretty easy to stick fat when you keep winning, but sticking with the side. But the huge testament to the clubs for making it a space that these guys want to stay in.
Yeah.
Because there's a time where you go like, God, I just want a little bit of a sea change. I want a new voice. Someone new, particularly like Brisbane, have the same coach forever, So I think it's a big testament to the coaches, the clubs, probably the players around them. But huge moment. Really special. I'm really, really happy for both of them, and they both are huge. I think the way they play is, as people who aren't fans, you can't watch them and not be excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you? What's your W, girl?
My W, our friend of the pod, Turbo. If you haven't heard our episode with Kiara Bowers, it was the third episode that we did this season. And we spoke to her about her and her partner having their second child, how the birth wasn't easy. He came early. They had jaundice. They had a few other issues that they had to tackle. And we discussed what a challenge that was in itself, but then also the challenge of coming back into an elite environment. I mean, she has given birth. She has then had to get back into that elite conditioning, but also the mindset as well. And I remember she said in that interview,
I won the time trial.
yes, she did, after some
Prodding.
pushing from me.
Humble.
But she did say that when we asked about the support network around her coming back from childbirth, she said that she has felt really supported, that it's been amazing. She also said that there was support offered to her that she hadn't even considered she might need, because she sort of just thought, I'll just get straight back into it. Now,
I've not had a baby, but I can't imagine it's...
You have a dog.
And that's hard enough.
Dougal is.
But it's really hard. And she did say likened it to an injury.
Absolutely. So knowing all of that, having had that conversation with her and also seeing what a fantastic season, as usual, she's already had, there is this beautiful photo of her post their game on Sunday. Now, when you look at the stats, just to give some context around this, 23 disposals.
This one here.
21 tackles and 6 marks.
She was like 3 tackles off of her record, her own record of tackles. 21 tackles is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's outrageous. So she
People
went
go through
out
a whole
there.
season without having 21 tackles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So she went out there, had a near record-breaking game, and then this photo, which is my big W for the week, is her leaning against the change room wall. I do feel like someone at the club could have given her a chair, but we can talk about that later. Breastfeeding her baby immediately after the game. Still visibly sweating, recovering from the game, still in her uniform.
Socks on. Just took the boot straight off and breastfeeding straight away. I mean, if you super mum
know us, absolute super mum. If you know us and you listen to the podcast, you'll know that this is absolutely what we're all about. But these sort of things, unless someone had snapped a photo, we wouldn't have known about that. And it's for her, it's her everyday occurrence, and it's normal for her and her family. But for the rest of the world that aren't really tuned in to what these mums have to juggle to play the sport and to deliver us this entertainment that is AFLW. I mean, watching that game, watching her play brings so many people joy. It expands the league. It is so, so good for Australia and the Australian sporting network in general. But you see that and then you jump in your car and head home and do whatever. But she goes back to the change room and breastfeeds her baby. It is just a really beautiful, striking thing to see. And I just think it just proves, I'm glad we have that photo and she shared it herself. And she said savouring these moments. So she's obviously really enjoying doing both. But I just think that just shows us, it shows young girls that you don't have to choose. You can make it work, but you also need that support of the club. And the club reposted that photo, and we know that they've been really supportive of her because we've had those conversations. Not everyone gets that, but I just think it's something that needs to be celebrated, and I'm so glad that that photo exists.
Oh, and I think of back, when I was an athlete coming through, and God, things have changed. And I think, I couldn't have a baby. I can't have a baby now because I can't get myself out of condition. I can't then do that. I can't travel. I can't do these things. To see clubs and leagues on board with that, and each one of them, I think, pushing each other to be better. So cricket will do this, and the AFL go, well, we need to do that, and then cricket will go, I've got to do this, and I think all these, the competition between these leagues are actually making what's a better environment for these mothers. And then you completely contrast that with being a dad's hard, of course, but it's a completely different type of hard. It's not as hard for their body, and
you
think
don't physically have to be
exactly,
there.
Exactly. And you think of there's certain AFL men's players who have babies and go, I'm just going to go before the game for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to spend the night in a hotel because I can't be at home. You can't do that if you're the breastfeeding mother. And so, of course, that's apples and oranges. And it's not to say that that's not okay for the men to do that. But I think it's highlighting how incredible to have a 23 disposal, 21 tackle match, still be breastfeeding, probably breastfeeding overnight.
Yep.
What your body's just done to be able to be that human to begin with. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's beautiful. My L, just quickly for this week, is Melbourne and North Melbourne aren't playing each other in the fixture quirk because we know that each team doesn't play each other yet.
And I think because where Melbourne were in the ladder last year gave them a little bit of an easier run this year because they didn't make finals last year.
Which is probably why we're seeing them do so well.
Yep.
But I do think we know that no matter who the Roos play, they are far and above everyone else.
Oh.
Also, you would assume were given what was deemed to be the toughest fixture because
the only team.
I mean, it's not tough at all for them, is it?
No, the only team that's come within 5 goals of them, and it's 29 points, mind you, Brisbane.
Yeah.
So, they beat the team that's sitting third on the ladder by a shit ton of goals.
200% or something.
I just don't know who's beating them.
No, I don't think so.
Who's
So
beating
that is
that's a big
why
L,
I'd like to see them play Melbourne so we can sort of, because Melbourne currently sits second on the ladder, we can see them play the best teams.
And I think it would be setting up for a better final because I think, for example, Carlton, who were sitting third at the time, played them. If they do meet them in the final, they now have some idea of how to go about what they need to do to beat them because I think what every team's going to be doing is watching every single one of North Melbourne's games closely. Yep. Their coaches will be sitting there going, all right, that obviously doesn't work. What can they do? And they'll be doing, their gameplay that they might not be doing in any of these other games to figure that out. And so it's a bit of a shame that they can't put anything into place before a final.
Yeah.
Only going to be doing it when there's the entire season on the line, essentially. So it's a bit of a shame.
Just as spectators too. You want to see a good game.
100%.
It's a shame that we won't see them face each other. But I imagine, if I was a betting person, I imagine that we would see them play each other in finals. So fingers crossed that we see that. Coming up next, we chat to Lily Mithen. She is our guest for this week. She's a little bit more tanned now she's in the Suns colours. Lil's been part of AFLW history since day one. We know her. She's a pocket rocket. She's a fearless midfielder. She thrives on the contest, and we do talk to her about that in our interview. She loves to be a bit of a pest on field. She is funny, and she's a great addition to any side. So she had a huge career at Melbourne. She was a premiership player. She was there for 9 years. She's an All-Australian squad member and 2-time best club person, and now she's getting some leadership experience at the Gold Coast Suns. So the last time I ran into Lil, she said, I'm thriving. When I said, how are things up north? And she seems to be doing just that. So please enjoy our chat with Lily Mithen. Lil, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have a chat to you. Big week for you coming up facing your old side, the Demons. How are you feeling ahead of that clash?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's I'm really excited. I feel like I haven't thought about it too much. When the fixture initially came out, I had circled round 7, but since then just been in the vortex of what the AFLW season is, and now that it's approaching, it's almost a good thing that it's only a 5-day turnaround because there hasn't been a lot of time to think about it, and it feels like the game's right around the corner. But yeah, ultimately just really excited to, I guess, see my old teammates and go out and play our best Suns footy against a team that's really in form. But yeah, it's probably a good thing I haven't thought about it a lot because that could be at the detriment of myself and my performance. But it'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you're a little bit like me, a little bit of a pest energy kind of bunny. Are you a bit nervous about what you could be copying from some of your former teammates, or do they know your quirks, how to get under your skin, or you feel as though obviously be played in good spirits, but do you think they'll know what to do to irk you?
Oh, absolutely. They'd know how to do that.
You know how to do it to them?
They did that for 9 years, and yeah, I guess I did it back. So there could be a little bit of niggle, but I don't think so, to be honest. It should be played in good spirit and good fun. I'm more concerned that I could be standing around a stoppage and accidentally saying, Gato, or Paxi, I'm on, Liza here, like instinctually, just because I've obviously done that for so long. So that would be something to watch, and they would get really annoyed if I did that, but I genuinely don't think I'll be doing that on purpose. It would be, it would just be first nature.
Watch this space. There might be a few 50-metre penalties
Lily
for Hanty.
kicking to the wrong end. Lil, on that, we know that you and Kate Hoare are really close friends. Apparently when you were, I don't know if this is just rumour mill, so you can set it straight if it is. Apparently when you were sussing out going up to the sunny state, you ran into Kate at Burleigh. Talk us through that interaction.
Yeah, that is true. She knew I was up here, coming and sussing out the club and having a meeting up here, but she was with Sarah Lampard, Maeve Chaplin and Tyler Hanks and Aliv Purcell as well. So it was a whole crew, and I ran into them down the beach. I happened to have a red and yellow hat on, not a sun's hat, but just a red and yellow hat on, which was a really silly decision.
Off to do patrol.
When I ran into them, they were like, "What are you doing? You've already made your decision. You're in the merch. This is a disaster." But it was it was slightly awkward. I was hoping not to run into them, but it didn't take long. Burleigh's a small place.
How did that conversation go with your old team that you, once you decided that you were moving? How did that conversation go with them? Obviously, AFLW has so much player movement and players, I think, are pretty aware of there's lots of reasons why you'd change clubs, but how did it feel to tell them when you decided to make that move?
It wasn't a lot of words. It was a lot of sobbing, crying, telling them that we were about to break up. So there was a lot of emotion in a lot of conversations that I had with all my teammates and the staff and the coaches, and it was all really well received, and there was a lot of mutual respect there. So that made it easier, but didn't make it, I guess, emotionally more comfortable. It was really difficult to have those conversations, but ultimately I'm really happy with the decision I've made and loving my time in the Suns. So all worthwhile.
I'm sure it was more of a it's not you, it's me sort of breakup, which is what you said to me last time I saw you in person. I think it was just before the season started, and I said, "How's it going up there?" And you said, "I am thriving," and you were on a real high. Talk to us about the move. You just said that the weather change has been good for your mental health, but I can imagine starting afresh and being with a new side as well has a similar effect on your mental health with a fresh start. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. It's so, I guess, reinvigorating, just doing things new for the first time. And when you play at this level for what I'd done at 9 years at Melbourne, doing all of those things for the first time has been really exciting. And I've got so much more love for the game and passion back just because I've just doing things that are new and fresh and exciting. So it's been a really nice change up for me. And then being in a team that's young and developing and taking, I guess, steps forward each and every day is been really cool to be a part of. So personally, I'm loving my footy this year. I know the results haven't necessarily gone our way, and people would probably be looking at me going, "Oh, how she's going in a losing team where I've been used to winning all the time." It's still been really rewarding, and loving the challenge that we're faced with each and every day, and personally getting better and growing a lot. So it's been awesome.
So happy for you, Lil. It's so nice that
Thanks,
you feel like
guys.
you've made the right decision. It's awesome.
Speaking of some of those youngsters, I mean, that was you 9 years ago, right? And you had some incredible mentors ahead of you, particularly players like Daisy Pearce. How do you feel about taking that on board with those youngsters of now being one of the players that they look up to, a premiership player, an inaugural player? Does that fill your sense of pride, and how much do you enjoy mentoring and bringing through some of these youngsters of the Suns, which have some absolute stars coming through?
Yeah, we do have some stars, and I guess to be more of an experienced player amongst the group, there is a bit of responsibility that I do have to show the way in what elite training standards are like and preparation and things like that. So it has been, again, a really good challenge that I've loved being part of. And the girls that we've brought in from the academy and our under 18-year-olds girls they're such good players, but they're really good students of the game. They want to get better. They want to work really hard, and they want to be good teammates. So it makes us more experienced girls, it makes our job really easy when you've got people who are really attentive and really driven to get the most out of themselves.
So I was brought on obviously as a cross-coder many years ago and had a similar sort of role of like teaching players, but I was very hot on going like, "Hey, don't do this. I've made these bad mistakes along the way." Have you had to teach them anything of like, "Hey, this is an error that I've made and you've learnt from that"? Anything like that coming through?
Not necessarily. I think they
Perfect
can get
athlete.
really surprised at how I can switch from silly, goofy, fun, high energy to then really dialed in and getting to work and nailing, I guess, those elite standards I spoke of. So I think they're all probably getting that balance right, and I guess I just try and teach them in the way that I go about it necessarily, and giving them a speech.
Speaking of that progression, Lil, we know you've been around since inception of AFLW. We've talked a lot on the pod. It feels like this season really things have gone up to a new level skill-wise, competition-wise, and we talk about those younger players as well. When you look back on the last 10 seasons, how do you feel seeing the way that our competition has progressed?
Yeah, I can't even remember what season 1 was like. We were just running around like headless crooks trying to figure out which way was up half the time. But the way that the game has progressed and the elite environments that we're now accustomed to is incredible. And you can just see that that's reflected in the highlights reels that you see, the young girls that are coming through. Like Havana Harris is an absolute joy to play with. She is a genuine star and so humble at that. So there is so much progression that's been made in the sport, and we've even seen North Melbourne, what a fully fledged AFLW program looks like. And when we all become programs like that, it's going to be a pretty darn good competition.
So AFL in this week is the main centrepiece because of the grand final, and AFLW is moving their games around to just make sure that there's no crossover with that. What are your thoughts on grand final week and how the AFL can help the AFLW have a platform? Do you think there should be things like doubleheader on grand final day, or do you think it should be left alone and have the men as their day and then the women all around it? What are your thoughts on doubleheaders?
Yeah, I love the idea of double headers. I think you engage a new audience and we can showcase what we can do in front of an audience that isn't typically drawn to AFLW. I think one year they played a game at Punt Road, which I thought was a really cool idea, and that was just like a free entry game. I know there's no games being played at Punt Road this year, but I think that we can maximise opportunities like that, again, to have more eyeballs on what we're doing.
Such a good crowd at that game too. I was there. I remember it was a really warm day, and it was you could really see people, because people obviously, as we know, go like, you're not just going for the grand final, you go for the pre-match entertainment, but people get into Richmond around at like 9 a.m. There was people just filtering through because they were ready to get on the beers and they just wanted to something to do. And you're right. I know we're not playing at Punt Road this year, but well, actually, I've never played there, but us as a league. You might get it.
You're part of it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts as well? We discussed last week, State of Origin's been around they've just been announced to come back for the men. Can you imagine having a platform like that, like they do with the NRLW, and how much that would mean for the women of the game?
Yeah, and I think that would show the best of the best, and that would just be such an amazing showcase of women's footy, and I think so many people would be blown away by the standard of what that game could produce. So I'd be a huge fan of that. There was that in year 1. I'm not sure why we didn't continue with that, but yeah, that was a really good game to be a part of. So that would be cool. But would you go State of Origin, or would you go Aussies v Irish? I think that's something that we definitely need to do at some point. You don't even need to travel. You can do it here. There's enough Irish girls obviously here during the off season. So yeah, I think there'd be plenty of ways to continue to bring new ways to engage new audience and showcase our best players.
Love the Aussie versus Irish idea. That's unreal, because we talk every year that they're amazing, but they really take over. And when you look at the background of that, like often they've just handed a Sharon and it's like, give it a whirl, see how well you can do, and then they just smash it. That's a great idea, actually. I love that. Now, speaking of your teammates, you said you've loved playing with Havana Harris. Other teammates, who's the funniest? Who's the rat bag of the group? Give us the intel.
Rat bag, Heidi Talbot, probably. We haven't got to see her yet. She got sidelined with a shoulder injury, but she is an absolute menace. She will be an absolute weapon next year, so stay tuned for that one. One of our other first years, Mia Salisbury, she's a genuine pest. She's no good half the time, but she's good fun. I've loved being reunited with Maddie Brancatisano. We didn't actually play together while she's at Melbourne, but being teammates again with her, she's just the ultimate team player and has so much to give. So she's a ripper. I hadn't met Neve McLaughlin for a long while, but that's now our captain, and Shori was just like, she's the Irish version of you, or vice versa, and that's pretty accurate. She's an amazing leader and someone I'm loving working with. So there's plenty of good people up at the Suns, and if anyone else wants to come up and play here, just send me a message and I'll see what we can do.
Who's the biggest teacher's pet? I love this one. Are you a bit of a teacher's pet, Lil?
Yeah, I am. You can't have to be. If you want to get picked, if you want to have a say. No, but Shori's an amazing coach, and I just love the ideas he has. So I'm one that's often sitting in his office picking his brain, and people would say that's teacher's pet, but I genuinely just really like his company and think he's got great ideas.
That's just you wanting to get better, Lil. That's all that is.
Exactly. Charlie Robon and be similar, to be honest.
Speaking of Shori, how's he gone? Is this his first? It's his first time coaching women. Yeah, how's he gone from being part of what is an AFL manly, want of a better word, man system? How's he gone from this transition into coaching women? Because it is a very different style of coaching that you need to do to be producing the best on the day.
Yeah, he has coached the under-18s girls, so he's had a bit of experience in coaching females, but he is such a personable guy that has great relatability, and he's a genuine softie. Like the way he parents his kids, the boys are always in and hanging out. So he's got so much love and care for people, and that definitely shows in the way that he coaches. And he's one of those creative guys that always keeps you on your toes as well. So he's got a great ability to keep us all engaged at all times.
Well, Lily Mithen, thank you so much for chatting to us. We've loved having you on the pod today, and we're just so excited to hear that you feel like you've made the right decision. It was a big move for you at the start of the season, and it's all paying off. So it's great to see you happy and healthy and a little bit more tanned.
It is nice. Thanks heaps, guys. Appreciate the chat, and see you soon.
Thanks, Lil. Okay, Miss Georgie Parker, let's have a look at what we're keeping tabs on this week.
And that's all brought to you by Tab. And, we spoke about North Melbourne. I'll be keeping tabs on them to see when they are going to lose a match, if ever. But Ash Riddell, we spoke about her off the top. Man, keeping tabs on her to see whether or not I think her best and fairest is hers to lose. She's at the top of the coaches' votes at the moment. She's averaging, how's this for a number? 37.5 disposals a match. So she had 44 disposals just gone. She equal record that she just knocked herself off of 43. And then she was also on 42 as well. So she's everywhere. She's getting so much of the ball. Not only does she do that, she hits it at about 80% efficiency. She's getting goals. And we speak about Jazz Garner being like this silent little assassin on the field. She's not that. She's an in and under kind of player. She's always under the umpires' noses. So I think the medal at the moment is hers to lose at this halfway point. So we're going to keep tabs on her to see whether or not she continues that form, stays injury-free. That's really important. That injury to Jazz might have cost her that, some votes along the way. So keeping tabs on her, and that's all brought to you by Tab.
Looking ahead to round 7 of AFLW this weekend. Last week, we talked about the AFL missing a beat. George, you were particularly fervent on them not having a Thursday night footy game. But we've got it this week. Geelong versus Hawthorn at GMHBA. Yep. That is the game that we just heard Meg McDonald talking about. The girls will play Thursday night. That should be a good game against the Hawks. And then they'll head down the highway and watch the boys in their grand final on Saturday.
Yeah, that'll be great. And then they actually as well don't play until the following Saturday. So they've got a nice big 9-day break
for a bender.
Yeah, so they can go on and think really celebrate with the boys or commiserate. Who knows how that game's going to go. missing a trick the last couple of weeks. So finally, I think they've got Thursday and obviously got the Friday, full day of footy on that Friday with the day off here in Melbourne. And so hopefully get around a bunch of those games for the Victorian crowds.
Yeah.
That should be a good game. Hawthorn have not been playing to what we've been expecting from them. They're still winning though.
Yeah. For
They're
sure.
still winning.
I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
Now, as you mentioned, George, I love the Friday. I mean, obviously, I love
Day of
a
footy.
public holiday, but the day of footy, because we're celebrating. We're so excited about the men's grand final coming up. They have the grand final parade in Yarra Park. It's actually a shame, as we just spoke about with Lil, that there's no games being played at Punt Road this year, because there would be a great opportunity to have a women's game then. But if you're missing having footy on a Friday, even though the grand final is the next day, on Friday you can watch Melbourne versus Gold Coast at Casey Fields, Essendon versus Kangas at Windy Hill, Blues versus Freo at Icon Park, and then Dogs versus Collingwood at Whitten Oval. So it is an absolute... If you're walking around thinking there's only one game of footy left this year, you are wrong.
Yeah, it's basically gather round.
It is in Melbourne.
Basically gather round
at
and
Casey
then,
Fields.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we spoke about that last year. Gather round on grand final weekend would be pretty handy, and then that takes away the not being able to be one club sort of situation. But hey,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a big weekend of footy, and we do need to say as well the men's grand final. It's such a showcase for the sport, so that's exciting as well. Who's your tip for the grand final?
I think Snoop Dogg will tear it up.
So you don't work for the AFL anymore.
I'm
going
for I'm not to take this on a serious note, but I am going for Geelong. We had a family member pass away this year, and he was a big Geelong supporter, and his daughter. One of his daughters was also a Geelong supporter, and so she is heading along to the game. So
Beautiful.
We will all be supporting Geelong for our Uncle Marcus this year.
Well, I'll go for Geelong then as well, because I was about to say it's a game that I'm like, I don't really care who wins. But now I do care. So for Uncle Marcus, hopefully Geelong gets up.
Thank you, George.
Should be an exciting weekend of footy. I can't wait.
If you're tuning into 3W over the weekend, Dogs versus Collingwood at Whitten Oval, that's the game that we're doing. We've got a stacked team on the tools this weekend. Laura Spurway, Tony Leonard, Shane McGuinness, Meg McDonald, Amelia Fuller on the boundary. I will also be there.
Stack team. Not naming yourself.
As soon as I said that, I was like, Georgie's going to tell me I'm up myself.
I started reading this. I go, stack team, and I see her name there. Okay. Interesting stuff.
And the headline act is Sarah Burt on stats. On that note, please do tune in. I think that will be a great game. And then, of course, enjoy the weekend of footy, men's and women's, everything that AFL and AFLW has to offer. Saturday is clear air for the men's grand final, but we'll be back on Sunday to see some more awesome games of AFLW. So, George, thanks for another great episode. Please follow AFLW Weekly wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and get involved with AFLW Weekly.
Go the Cats.